Hello and welcome everyone on this official platform of Legacy IAS Academy. So today in this session we are going to discuss one of the most important event that has occurred yesterday. Yes, that is US joins Russia to vote against United Nations resolution on Ukraine war and India China abstains. So what just has happened at the United Nations has sent shockwaves across the globe, or for the first time since Russia-Ukraine war began 3 years ago, the United States of America voted with Russia to block the resolution calling for peace in Ukraine. Yes, you heard it right. A stunning break from its European allies and a major shift in global diplomacy. Now, what did the US suddenly change its stance? And what does this mean for Ukraine, for Europe, and also for the balance of power in the world? So let's dive into the dramatic twists and turns of this crucial vote, because the implications are far bigger than they seem. So recently, what is the context? So the context here is that United Nations General Assembly voted on a resolution which is proposed by Ukraine and its European allies, calling for peace and end to war and like respect of sovereignty for Ukraine's. So the vote of, or you can say the voting results for Ukraine resolution will make you shock. How? Because let me tell you the voting results that have happened. So 93 votes, 93 countries voted in favor, including major European nations like Germany, UK, France, G7 countries except United States. 18 countries voted against, including Russia, US, Israel, and Hungary. And 65 countries abstained, including India, China, Brazil, and South Africa. As you can see here, these 93 votes are in favor, and 18 are in against, and 65 abstentions are there. Ji haan. So let me tell you that 65 countries has abstained. 93 countries voted in favor, including major European countries like Germany, UK, France, and G7 countries. G7 countries, as you can see here, except United States of America. Now, 18 countries are voted against, including Russia. Clear? So 18 countries ने against में vote किया, that is Russia, US, United States of America, Israel also, as well as Hungary also. Now 65 countries which are abstained. So India abstained, China abstained, Brazil abstained, South Africa abstained with respect to voting. Now let me tell you that so far that United States of America had always voted with the European in the last 3 years of Russia-Ukraine war, and this shift in United States marks a major departure from its position, with signaling a break from Europe. Clear? That means this is a significant turn that we can see in geopolitics. So that is why United States of America President Donald Trump has made that clear in his recent statement that the direct talks with Russia in Riyadh, where both Ukraine and European allies were not present. And the vote was notable because United States of America voted against the resolution along with Russia for the first time since the war began 3 years ago. This signals a shift in the United States of America position, and it is a kind of break from its usual alignment with Europe. Now, the relations between US and Ukraine have soured. Why? Because of various things, because of Donald Trump return. So the relation between US and Ukraine are not good. So let me tell you first of all why. Because Last week, if you go through our previous videos also, so last week Donald Trump called Ukraine Zelensky a dictator and he claimed that it is highly unpopular. Zelensky is highly unpopular and he also called for him to move fast to end the war. A day after Russian and US official held talks in Saudi Arabia without Ukraine, without any European ally. And following the talks between the US and Russian officials in Saudi Arabia, Trump called Russia-Ukraine war senseless and he emphasized that it should never have occurred. So Russia want to do something. They want to stop this barbarianism that's going on over there. So soldiers are being killed. Russia also wants that this war should be stopped and soldiers are being killed by thousands on a weekly basis. So apart from the Russian as well as Ukrainian soldiers, a lot of Korean soldiers have also been killed. So according to the various reports, which says that Washington has given Ukraine more than $60 billion in military aid since Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered tens of thousands of troops to cross into the Ukraine on February 24 to 2022. So that is why it's this year in December, Zelensky, he said around 43,000 Ukrainian troops and 1,98,000 around Russian soldiers, they had been killed in this Russia-Ukraine war. That is why, remember this thing, that is why this is one of the most important thing, one of the most important data with respect to this war. So United Nations basically estimate that about 12,500 civilians also, they have lost their lives in this Russia-Ukraine war in Ukraine. And as I have said, India abstained again in this voting because as India has done in past UN votes also about the war, maintaining a neutral stand. And that is why New Delhi's position showcasing the neutrality, that it does not want to take any side. Clear? So significantly, Delhi has chosen to maintain its neutrality despite US shifting its position. So that is why the resolution called for de-escalation, a kind of an early cessation of hostilities and a peaceful resolution of the war against Ukraine. And this Russia-Ukraine war is marked by enormous destruction, human suffering, including among the civilian population, which is in line with the Charter of the United Nations as well as international law. That this is the violation of the Charter of United Nations as well as other international laws. That is why India was among 65 UN member states that has abstained from the resolution. Apart from India, other BRICS countries like Brazil, China, South Africa, all these BRICS countries abstained. And apart from BRICS countries, let me tell you, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Iran, Iraq, Oman, Kuwait, Syria, Ethiopia, all these countries, Argentina, all these countries also abstained in the resolution which is passed by Ukraine. And among India's neighbors, so among India's neighbors, if you see Pakistan, then Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, these countries also abstained. On the other hand, Bhutan, Nepal, Maldives, Myanmar, they voted in favor with the European in the 93 who voted yes for Ukrainian resolution. Now, among those who voted in favor are like Japan, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, UK, France, Italy, Spain, Poland, Indonesia, Cambodia, Canada, Egypt, Turkey, clear. And of course, Ukraine among the others who voted in favor. So this means that G7 countries minus US right now in this resolution, which is passed by Ukraine, in this G7 countries minus US voted in Ukraine's favor. And among the 18, those who voted against the Ukraine's draft, Russia, that is obvious, US for the first time, North Korea, Belarus, Hungary, Israel, Haiti, Burkina Faso, Burundi, clear. all these countries, they voted against the proposal of Ukraine in United Nations. So remember this thing, why this resolution is important. So let me tell you why this resolution is important, because this resolution comes on the third anniversary of Russia-Ukraine conflict, with that is 24 February. And that is why United Nations Secretary General Secretary General Antonio Guterres, he stressed that the war in Ukraine stands as a grave threat not only to the peace and security of the Europe, but also the very foundation and core principles of the United Nations. That is why when these countries voted in against and some countries favored the proposal of Ukraine, so after this, United States of America also proposed its own resolution. पहले तो US ने क्या किया? First US voted against the Ukraine's resolution. Now after that, US proposed its own resolution, which is called as Path to Peace. जी हाँ, which is called as Path to Peace. Let me show you that US proposed its own resolution, which is called as Path to Peace. As you can see here, and it is originally referred to the conflict as Russian Federation Ukraine conflict. The proposal which is created by US, originally it was called as Russian Federation Ukraine conflict, but France made an amendment. France called for an amendment and called it as the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation. France made an amendment in this. Clear? So after the amendment, US resolution was also adopted. Now how US resolution was adopted? So after the amendment, US resolution was also adopted. How many voted in favor of US resolution? So 93 votes in favor. जी हाँ, 93 votes in favor, 8 votes against, and 73 abstentions. Clear? So 93 votes in favor of US resolution, as you can see here, 8 against, 73 abstention. So interestingly, the thing here is US abstained from the final vote on its own resolution. US ने अपने खुद के resolution पर vote नहीं किया, final vote. And based on this, various key statements has been made by the dignitaries, like US Ambassador Dorothy Shea, as you can see her image. Now, Dorothy Shea, she emphasized that the need for the lasting peace, and she also pointed that the previous resolutions which demanding Russia's withdrawal had failed. She had made this statement. Now, after this, Ukraine's Deputy Foreign Minister, Mariana Betsa. Now, Mariana Betsa, Ukraine's Deputy Foreign Minister, she says that Ukraine has the right to defend itself and accused Russia. She has accused Russia of violating the UN Charter. This was the scenario in United Nations Council. Now, what are the countries' position in the US resolution? Which countries they have voted in favor? So voted in favor, Australia with respect to US resolution, the path of peace which is proposed by US. So the countries who voted in favor, like Australia, Japan, UK, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Canada, Ukraine, etc., etc. And the countries who voted against, Russia, then US, clear, North Korea, Belarus, Israel, Hungary, etc. Again, abstained countries, India, China, Brazil, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Iran, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, etc., etc. So, why this resolution is important? The most important thing is date. The resolution came on the third anniversary of the Russia-Ukraine war, that is 24 February, which was started in 2022. And that is why United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, he called this Russia-Ukraine war as a grave threat to the global peace and United Nations principle. So the recent UN votes have some pretty significant implications also for US-Russia relations, US-Ukraine ties. Clear? And there can be broader geopolitical landscape. So let's try to understand the implications of this thing. What do you think? What are the implications that going to happen and how it's going to impact US-Russia relations? So let's see. So how it's going to impact US-Russia relations first of all. Now the thing is possibility of thaw or pragmatism, we can say. Possible thaw or pragmatism. Clear? Which means that the US voting alongside Russia, even if just on this resolution, could signal a shift towards a more pragmatic approach. And let me tell you, it might hint at the US being open to direct talks with Russia, which is seen in Riyadh meetings where Ukraine and Europe were excluded. So it's a kind of diplomatic signaling also, while it doesn't mean a full reset of relations, that is US and Russia. But it shows that US might be exploring the ways to push for negotiations, perhaps aiming for a ceasefire or managed peace rather than the unconditional support for Ukraine. So what can be the Russia's response? So Russia could view this as a win, which is a sign that West is divided now, and it can give Putin more leverage at the negotiation table. Apart from this, another implication, so how is going to impact US-Ukraine relations? So US-Ukraine relations, so first of all, let me tell you how it's going to impact US-Ukraine relations. So strains and strategic recalibration can be there. How? Because US vote against Ukraine's resolution, clear, and its abstention on its own draft, this suggests cooling support. While the military and financial aid may continue with Ukraine, but there is a subtle diplomatic message, you can say, or there is a subtle message that US want Ukraine to consider diplomatic solution rather than hoping for a total Russian withdrawal. And that is not possible. And what is the position of Ukraine here? Ukraine might feel betrayed or sidelined, especially with the United States of America, who is engaging with Russia directly in talks. This could push Ukraine to double down on rallying support from Europe and other allies, straining the US-Ukraine ties. And apart from this, let me tell you, regional and global geopolitics. So what can be the regional and global geopolitics? Now this can also be seen as US-Europe divide, because G7 voting without US highlights a growing rift between the Washington and its European allies. And Europe, especially countries like Poland and Baltic states, may now feel that they need to take the lead on Ukraine without relying on American backing. Apart from this, China and India balancing act in this. China and India balancing act. So China and India, they have abstained themselves from voting. So the abstention by India and China, they show that their consistent neutrality. But it also means that they are maintaining ties with both Russia as well as West. And for India, this reflects its strategic autonomy, balancing relations with the US while keeping Russia close. Clear? And apart from this, Middle East careful diplomacy also. So countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, they are abstaining. Now, their abstaining or their abstention shows a growing trend of Gulf nation asserting independent foreign policies. And they also signal that they won't automatically align with the US. Clear? So these are some important things. So the bottom line here is that the US is signaling the openness to diplomacy with Russia, and Ukraine might feel abandoned or pressured to negotiate in this. And Europe, on the other hand, is drifting from US leadership on this issue, Russia-Ukraine issue now. So major global players like India, China and Gulf state, they are asserting their neutrality and prioritizing strategic flexibility. So with respect to this, what can be the Europe's reaction? Europe will be unified but without US. So major European nations like Germany, UK, France and others, they voted in favor of Ukraine's resolution, which shows a united front despite US stepping back. And G7 split. The fact that G7 voted without the US is significant. Clear? So it highlights growing European frustration with the US shifting stance. And US, and remember this thing, that Europe seems prepared to push forward on Ukraine even without the US. Clear, everyone? Even without US full backing. Clear? So overall, when we see these kind of incidents in geopolitics, so the thing here is implications are very important. Clear? So overall, what does the unprecedented US-Russia alignment mean for global diplomacy? Is this a signal that America is shifting its stand on Ukraine, or a tactical move in a larger geopolitical chess game? So as Europe grows uneasy and India walks its tightrope of neutrality, the world is watching. And the question remains, are we witnessing the first step towards a new world order, or it is a calm before an even bigger storm? So let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe as we continue unraveling these global plays. Thank you so much.